Hey there, Brad Miller with Jason Medford today, and we're going to talk about dreaming, dreams, maybe some sleep. I don't know. We're not really sure where this is going to go yet, but somehow we're going to
You
be
get to
talking
find out
about,
which of us has narcolepsy and ends up falling asleep in the middle of the podcast.
but only if you're watching it on the video. If you're just listening to the podcast, we're going to edit it all out. So, um, so those of you who are watching this on YouTube, a little bonus for you there. You see nodding off in the background. But yeah, but I mean, this is something that I mentioned earlier, to you, Jason, that for the last probably 3 or 4 weeks at least, I've been aware of having at least 2 to 3 dreams every night. And some of them are a little shorter, little vignettes. Some of them are a little bit longer ones. But you know, in the past, I've had episodes where I've had dreams that I remember. Like I've got a dream journal that I've kept, ones that like really have jumped out at me and that I feel are very significant. And there's things that have been in there. But rarely in the past have I had it where I've consistently every single night have had multiple dreams and I can remember I'm having them. I mean, because we all have we dream every night. Most of the time we just don't remember that we did it. But I'm remembering, I'm either waking up, right after the dream happens and then falling back asleep and remembering, or, a couple have gone by and then I wake up and realize that I had a couple dreams. So with that, I'm going to throw it over at you and your dreams and see where you want to
Oh
run with
boy!
that.
Well, here we go. Where are we
Yeah.
going to run with that? Well, I think it's a couple things you said there is important because dream time is an important part to our spiritual growth, and there's a lot of things that we don't understand about dreams, what they actually are, what they aren't, whether you listening to this podcast right now is a dream. And we may go to some of those areas.
Life is but a
Uh,
dream, right?
Life is but a dream, right? And but what's interesting, that you brought up too, is I know people on the path that understand about dreams and about dream time and the use of dream time and ways of getting answers and ways of using dream time in the etherical, the non-physical reality way to create things and make things happen in this current reality as well. But what I find a lot of times is that we get down on ourselves. We get hard on ourselves about it. And Brad just shared that, hey, for the last little while, he's been remembering and bringing back into this conscious reality 2 to 3 dreams a night. And so the first thing is, well, I haven't been, right. I mean, I've had in probably the last 2 weeks, there's been a few dreams that I've kind of remembered, but it's not like I wake up in the morning and I've got 2 or 3 or 4 dreams, boom, 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 right, that I'm laying down and that I'm putting in a dream journal. But every night I dream. Every night I travel in dream time. Every night I set an intention to bring that back into this consciousness, right? Most days when I wake up, it didn't happen. At least I don't remember it consciously, but I know I dreamed. Every night we all dream, right? It's just most of us don't bring it back into our conscious awareness, which is fine, right? There's nothing right or wrong about it. And so I think, one first thing for me to point out, because I see I've done this for myself. I've gotten down on myself, hard on myself about it, but I've seen it from other people too, where they're like, "Oh, I just got to master dream time. I can't believe I haven't done it already." And when I do this, then everything is going to be perfect. It's like, slow down, have
Mm-hmm.
some compassion for yourself, right? You are dreaming. Um, you're just not, bringing them into this consciousness. That doesn't mean they're not happening. It doesn't mean you're not doing things. It doesn't mean that what you're learning and what you're doing is not actually happening or isn't getting recorded in your light body, because it is, right? We just don't physically remember it in
Mm-hmm.
this consciousness.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know, we've got some common friends that has specifically said that, I know that they are further down the spiritual path than me, let's say. And they are very gifted and a lot of things that this person can do. And they've specifically said that they don't really have much dreams, that
Mhm.
they don't remember their dreams. And so it's not a sign of spiritual involvement or anything like that, like, you're further along because you have dreams or whatnot. I think it just goes to the differences between people. I know people that talk to say they have dreams every night and they use dreams to figure out problems and to speak with beings and all kinds of stuff. Like that's kind of just their dream time thing, and they can't wait every night to go to sleep because they get to do all these things. That's wonderful. And I'm like, oh my god, that'd be so awesome if I could travel to different things and planets and all this kind of stuff. But for me, it's more mundane kind of stuff. Um, but it doesn't mean that's less worthy. That doesn't
Nope.
mean that there's anything less about me. That just means that right now that's the way things are, and that's perfectly fine, whatever it might be.
Well, I think it's interesting because, we all have different spiritual gifts. And, again, I mean, you can go, but the Bible talks about like gifts of the spirit and some other different things like that. And it lines up or doesn't line up with some of the newer spiritual teachings or new agey kind of things. But we all are really good at some things. We're okay at some things. We're not so good at others, right? In all aspects of our life. And so, yeah, some of my friends that I have, I mean, they are like master dreamers. I mean, like
Mm-hmm.
you talked about. I mean, and I'm learning from them, right? Because they're sharing with me some of the things that they do that I can incorporate in, that I can try out for myself, see if it works for me. Um, but if I'm not doing that, it's okay, right? Because at the same point, I have other gifts that maybe they don't have.
Mm-hmm.
And so while I might be sitting there saying, "Oh man, it'd be so nice to be able to dream like that," they're probably sitting there going, "Oh man, it'd be so nice if I could do that like Jason," right? On
Right?
something
Yeah.
completely different, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay. And I think it's, again, whether um, because I was kind of smiling here, Brad, as you were talking about, yeah, every night it'd be great to be like traveling to other planets and talking to beings and doing all this
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And I'm just sitting there smiling because it's like, well, Brad, what makes you think you're not doing that?
Oh no, I'm sure I am. It's just I
Right?
don't
I mean,
remember doing it.
you
Like
just
I'd like
don't
to be able to
remember
like
doing it.
exactly have that memory of being able to do it and being able to picture the places that I've been traveling and stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's the part that I think would be kind of cool. But
Well, and again, just because we don't remember something doesn't mean it doesn't happen.
mhm.
Right. And so I'll give you an example, right? It's like, Brad, do you know what you had for breakfast 3 years ago?
What day? 3 years ago.
Well, how about today? Today we're recording. It's November
I'm just gonna
1st.
say
So
no. I'm just
so
gonna say no.
you're going to say no, right? Because
Right.
now, but Brad, because you don't remember, does that mean you didn't have breakfast that day?
Maybe. I mean, it's possible I didn't, but
Possible, but it's just as possible that you had breakfast, right?
right,
But just because we don't remember something consciously doesn't mean it happened or didn't happen,
right.
right? And
Which,
so I
by the
think
way, is a
it's
lesson to tell my for you to tell my wife that when she said that she told me something and I, remember it.
all right. So
That's
afterwards, I'll have to talk to her
you
about
have to
that,
have a
right?
yeah.
But I think that's interesting, and a couple other things around dreaming too that I've learned over the years too is you know most of us think that this 3D linear reality that we see ourselves in, right? I mean, you're sitting there, we're talking, and recording this, and people are listening to it, but
Hopefully,
hopefully, well, whether they are or they aren't, it doesn't
doesn't
really
matter.
matter. But the point too is, well, is this the dream or is this reality? And so, one thing that I've been told, that I ponder on quite often is, what is the dream and who is the dreamer as well. right? Because I've been taught things like, when we are in dream time, we are more alive than we are when we're awake and we think we're alive. And it's like, ooh, now just a minute. Well, what does that actually mean? Right? Is that, again, the paradigm that we're all kind of forced into here is that this is reality. Jason's sitting here talking to Brad. He's wearing this sweatshirt. He's in his office, in Northern Arizona. And that's reality. Well, is it really reality? Right. And when you stop and start to think about it, I think that's one where your paradigms can start to shift. And, we are more alive when we're asleep than we are when we're awake. I know that. Right. But I think something else that comes up with dreams a lot of times too, that I found in myself and in talking to friends of mine as well, is, when we're dreaming, we're outside of this linear reality. And so some of the things that we see may have occurred in the past. Some of the things that we see may occur in the future. Some of the things that we see may be happening in a concurrent reality right now. And so I think, sometimes when people can confuse themselves a little bit in making more meaning out of their dreams than maybe they need to, right? And it's sometimes one of those things where, maybe there is nothing to understand. I mean, I've gone through some different things in my life the last 3 months, and so I'm sitting there thinking, well, why did that happen? What was I supposed to learn from that? What does that actually mean, right? And a lot of times it just is. There's no necessary meaning to it. Or if we see things that seem confusing to a linear brain, it's only because we're not understanding the cyclical nature of time itself. And so I'm trying to give you an example here without being too specific, right? But I've had in my life, for example, different dreams about different people, and it didn't make any sense to me, right? But if I take off this linear paradigm of thinking that, these are maybe some, something that might happen in the future, and instead I think, what, it could have happened in the past, it could be happening concurrently, it could be happening in the future, and I don't need to make meaning necessarily of it. It's just a data point. Because when I take several different dreams, it's like, well, how can that even be real? Because it doesn't make any sense, because I'm having the same dream about different people, let's say, and it's like, well, how can that be? I don't know. I don't know if that makes any sense at all, without trying to give away any of the confidences from my particular dreams or dreams that other people have shared with me, that they've had as well. And maybe I'll think of a good way to describe it here as we keep talking.
Yeah, no, I've noticed. I mean, and I think I like, to your point, that maybe there's nothing to specifically to learn about a specific dream. I mean, I know there's a lot of people who are trying to do dream interpretations and things like that. And I think, there can be some validity to that, I think, because there may be something in there for you, to maybe messages, you may, things like that while you're dreaming. But I think maybe more important, rather than trying to get every little detail about a dream, is maybe just looking for patterns. What's coming up? Why am I seeing the same thing over and over again? If you had that same dream where the same thing was happening with different people, why is that same thing happening? Like, is this like a Groundhog Day situation? Like, what's going on here? Why am I
Yep.
still having this? Is it something I need to be working through, or whatever it might be? But that to me seems more the value of the dreams than again trying to get down to the nitty gritties of every single thing. And well, I had a red shirt on that day. Why was I wearing a red shirt? Because I don't like red shirts. I don't have a red shirt, but I was wearing one. So what does that mean for me? And like, I think you can get real down rabbit holes that aren't really going to help serve you. Some
No, and I
cases.
think, but like you said, if you're having, if you're, quit saying having, if you're remembering the same dream over and over again, it
Mhm.
probably means something for you, and you need to figure out what that means, right?
Sure.
And again, like you said, if I'm having the same kind of dream pattern, but it's with different people, it's like, well, maybe the people don't really matter, and maybe it's
Right.
more about the dream sequence itself. What am I doing? What am I going through? It's not the people necessarily, right?
Hmm.
um or I think sometimes too, let's say that you have, I'm making this up too, right? But let's say that you have kind of a dream where you see yourself killed. You see somebody that kills you, shoots you, or I don't know, right? A lot of people may look at that and see that as an omen of, oh my gosh, I'm going to die, somebody's going to shoot me. What was I wearing? Oh, I was wearing a red shirt. Get rid of all the red shirts in my house. I'm never going to wear another red shirt because I
Right. And
don't
that's never
want
going to
that to
happen.
happen, right?
Yep.
But that's not even necessarily the purpose of it, right? It's like,
Right.
what does it actually mean? And again, you could be seeing something that happened in the past, or that happened in a concurrent reality that will
Mhm.
never replay itself here. And
Mhm.
so you don't need to be, go into a place of fear or worry about something happening in the future here. Sometimes they
Mhm.
are omens or forebodings of things that'll come. um, but a lot of times I don't think that they necessarily even are.
Mhm.
And so, just trying to think about that way of not putting extra pressure on us
Right.
to try to believe that everything is going to actually happen the way we dreamed it in this linear 3D reality.
Yeah. I mean, thankfully for me, most of my dreams aren't ones that I can say that seem that I remember are ones that I'm like, well, this is going to happen, so I need to be careful. Or like I they don't, they're generally not ones that seem to be kind of a future prediction, omen, that kind of a situation. Ironically, a lot of them involve me being an athlete, a professional athlete. So I'm not really sure what that's all about, but
Hey, you never know.
um,
Midlife, here you come, Senior
I
Olympics or whatever they call it, right?
I, I don't think I'm ever going to be a professional soccer player, seeing as I've never really done it beyond elementary school, or sometimes it's as hockey, and I've never played hockey. So
Interesting.
yeah, so those often two oftentimes will come up that I'm members of professional sports teams like that. So at least everyone
Well,
wants to figure out dream interpretations. There you go. You can start.
yeah, because, and again, well, and here's one, we've done other episodes on this too, where the answers are within, right? I mean, I could
Yeah.
sit here and I could talk to Brad about this dream, and sometimes I do with friends of mine, right? And they're like, "What do you think this means?" Well, I don't know necessarily what it means.
Hmm.
And the person who had the dream is the only one who really can get the answer. Now, sometimes though, when we're talking to people, right, other people will get kind of hits from the universe or get answers that just kind
Hmm.
of go through them. I mean, some of my friends, all of a sudden they'll just say something out of the blue and they won't even remember that they said it. It just like channels through them somehow. But it happened to be, an answer that I needed to hear directly then. And so
Hmm.
sometimes, as we're talking about dreams or other things with other people, sometimes we'll get some clarity on it. But, Brad's the only one who can ultimately decide what those dreams mean to him,
Hmm.
right? Because again, he played soccer when he was little. I played soccer for 1 year when I was little, right?
My daughter
I've never
plays
played
now
I've never played
a little
ice
bit.
hockey. You've never played ice hockey either, right? So it's
Nope.
like, well, but there's a theme, right? They're both team sports.
Yep.
They're both kind of similar in the way the game is played.
putting a ball, a puck into a net. Yeah,
right? And the fluidity and the
sure.
movement, right? There's no
Yeah.
start and stop of downs like there is in football or innings in baseball, right? So there are some similarities in kind of the way the game is played.
Mm-hmm.
You're kicking a ball with your feet versus hitting a puck with a stick, right? So I don't know. There might be some similarities there, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to get that answer. It's only going to be
Right.
Brad, but he and I could talk about it, right? And maybe give him some other insights so he can go away and kind of recapitulate or sit with that
Mm-hmm.
and see if it continues to come up, right? But again, if those are kind of recurring themes, then it's probably good to sit with it. If you're remembering similar dreams over and over again, there's probably a message there for you. But
Mm-hmm.
also, not to beat yourself up over it, like,
Right.
today I have to know the answer, and so I'm going
This
to
is
sit
something,
silently for until I get the answer, because that's not
right? If
how
I
it
can't figure it
works.
out, then I can't especially evolve if I don't know what this
I
means.
if
Why am I? Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
No.
no, but but the answer will come, right? If you're supposed to know the answer will come, and often it will come in ways that you never even expected. It could just be a
I think.
flash of
Yeah.
inspiration when you're shaving. It could be, something that comes in when you are meditating or sitting in silence. It
Mm-hmm.
may come in tomorrow. It may come in, a year from now. I mean, in fact, I'll tell you, I was, sometimes we have dreams and we have no idea what they mean because, again, it's like totally out of context. And I remember, the place where I'm in now, this house, I was out doing some yard work on the front of the house. And, I'm just moving rocks or doing whatever I'm doing. I couldn't even remember what I was doing. But all of a sudden, a flash kind of went through my head. And I remembered having a dream of this house and standing right where I was in the front of the
Mm.
house.
Deja
But
vu.
most people would call it a deja
Yeah.
vu experience, but it was a
Mm-hmm.
dream that I had to have had 5 or 10 years ago. It was not even a dream that was
Mm-hmm.
recent, right? And so, again, it's like, oh, okay, well, there's just another confirmation that I'm where I'm supposed to be. It was a message that I was given way back then, and for what reason, I don't know exactly, but maybe to put something in motion for me to eventually be able to be in this house, right? I
Yeah.
don't know, and I don't have to know either. But that's an example of a way that, because I'm sure when I woke up, whenever it was 5 or 10 years ago, I'm like, that's fucking weird.
What I'm
It's
gonna
like,
pushing the
I
rocks
don't live
around,
there.
like,
What is
right.
this? What's going on? I don't even recognize that.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time it's like, I wouldn't live in a place like that, probably thinking even too, right? But it's like, but
Sure.
now I understand why. And we never know until we know.
Yeah. No, that's, and sometimes, like you said, it's not really something that we need to worry about even knowing. Like, it's just something that comes to it. And that's something that I've been working on myself, is just kind of allowing things, whether it's dreams or whatever it might be. Um, I figure if it's gonna come, if it's gonna happen, it's gonna do. Um, and so rather than try to force something, I mean, because forcing doesn't feel good. I mean, regardless of things. I mean, um, it's just better just to kind of let things happen naturally and take it as it comes, and it will come when it's supposed to. There's a lot of thing, a couple, I would love to be, since we're kind of going to spiritual route, I'd love to be, a couple steps further on the spiritual path. But you know what? I am where I am right now. And I could try to force stuff, try to, like, oh, I'm going to push forward and but it's not going to help. It's not going to make it happen any sooner than it's supposed to. So why get myself all worked up and just kind of let things go and do what I need to as I go and enjoy it. Like,
Hmm. All right. Well, good discussion. you know, yeah, I mean, like I said, there's so much about dream work and dream space. And again, I don't profess to be an expert in any of it. Just sharing
oh
kind of
yeah,
what I've kind of come along, but some things that I do know that we've talked about just kind of as a recap, right? Is if you're remembering the same dream or very similar dreams over and over and over again, there's probably a message there for you, right? That you need to try to figure out, but again, not to try to force to figure it out, but just think about it, see some similarities, recapitulate on it, sit with it, whatever you want to call it, for a little while, and then let it go and let the answer come when it's supposed to come, right? um if you're again confused maybe about some of the dreams that you're having, like how could this happen, or worried about omens or things happening in the future, well, maybe it doesn't mean that at all, again, because when we go into dream space, we could end up in any timeline. That could be a timeline in the past, it could be a timeline that's happening concurrently right now with the reality we're living in, or it could be a future timeline, right? And so again, just try to approach everything with that in mind, right? That hey, what I'm seeing might not be something that's happening in the future, but it might be something that I experienced in the past. um, and again, some of the reasons why we have these often are for healing. Sometimes we're healing things from the past, sometimes we're receiving messages and information that we need to be able to do what we need to do here in this life. Um, so, and don't be hard on yourself. If you're not consciously remembering your dreams,
right.
don't think that you're not still progressing on your path, or that that's something you have to have all figured out. It may or may not be one of your spiritual strengths, but whether it's a spiritual strength or not, we can all grow and develop and get better at different things, but also don't try to compare yourself with other people who are maybe dream masters at the same point.
Right. Yeah, I mean that's one of the big takeaways is, you've got your own path, you've got your own deal, your own things. And it may be dreams, it may not be. Just like, I know Jason, there's music and messages and music is kind of one of your things.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? And so it's just individual to people, kind of based on who you are and on a soul level, and maybe this isn't what you're doing right now, and that's fine. Don't get hard on yourself if you don't have them. Like, don't try to force it. Don't try to get up and down on it because I'm not having these dreams that I think I should, or I'm not learning things in dream time. Just
Well, and actually, since you brought that up, it reminded me too, right? Because at the beginning, I told everybody I don't really remember my dreams for the most part, but almost every day I wake up with a song in my head, or I'm groggy, kind of in and out of sleep, and there's certain artists or songs that are kind of playing, right? And so I do use that every day, and I usually get messages, right? Sometimes it's messages from the lyrics. Sometimes I think it's just the frequencies and the sounds that I need to hear. And so I listen to those things every day. So, again, I wouldn't consider myself a dream master, but there's other ways that I'm getting those answers and bringing things back into this reality as well. And for me, one of the ways is through the music. So,
yeah.
yeah. So maybe I'm doing much more than I actually realize. I'm just
We all
out there
are
in the cosmos playing with
jamming,
everybody, jamming and bringing it back. Bring
part of
it back, baby.
the cosmic band.
Well, I've been hanging out with Bob Seger for a little while in the ethers for some reason these the last few weeks. So, all right. Anyway,
There you go.
so that's all we got for you for
Yeah.
dreaming
For
today. I'm
now.
sure
Yeah.
again, this is a topic that we'll be talking about more. And again, if you're if you're listening to this, you have specific questions about dreaming, reach out to us. Let us know. I mean, we're here talking about what we think we should be talking about, but if there's things you'd like to hear, then make sure and reach out to us as well, so we can use those topics in future episodes as well. So
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, thank you guys for listening today, and we look forward to chatting with you guys on the next episode.
all right, we'll see you, everybody.
See you then.